If you struggle to raise your prices, think that money's hard to find, or are struggling to break through a certain revenue goal right now, this video is for you, and we are going to help you to rewire your brain and to raise your energy so that money flows to you 1,000 times faster than what it was doing before. Right now, you're building a business, you're probably doing the outreach, writing the content, doing all the sales and marketing tricks that people tell you to do, but your revenue stays pretty flat, which sucks, right? And this was me. Not too long ago, I was stuck under 2K for 6 months. I even dropped to rock bottom. This is a picture of my bank account, and no, that's not a brand new bank account. But 3 weeks after doing this work, I hit 9K a month, and everything had stayed the same. I was doing LinkedIn content, I was doing LinkedIn DMs, that was it. Even the way that I sent the DMs and things didn't really change too much. I'll show you an example of things later. And the content, again, really didn't change too much. I was doing the same tactics, but because I had a better mindset and I had a higher energy, I was able to reap the results instead of feeling like this money just kept running further and further away from me. So we are going to rewire your beliefs, thoughts, and frequency around money. And as you can see, we have got a proof of your beliefs, your thoughts, and the actions that you may take. And so if you have the belief that money requires hard work, you may think to yourself, how many DMs will I need to send to book a call? Very logical thought, right? How you're thinking about the work that you need to put in to be able to get this result. And so then your action may be racing through these boring DMs just to make sure that you hit that number, because you're focused on the work and how much hard work you're going to have to put in order to get this result. Because surely the harder you work, the more money that you're going to make. Whereas if you have the belief that money flows to you and it's easy to come by, then you may think, what is the one action that is going to get me paid? And that might lead to asking your best client for a referral. I ran a 6-figure agency for probably about 9 months or so before I asked anyone for a referral, even though I'd had stupid ROIs of, what would that work out to be? Of like maybe 20, 30x ROI for some of my clients. And I never asked them for a referral because I had the belief that money had to be hard. And so I always had to go out and do the DMs and things like that, as opposed to just taking the easy route to go and make some money. Now, you're probably thinking why I've got this picture of a man with all of these goats around him. This is the idea of showing you how a belief can change the way that you think and the actions that you take. So, we, for a long time, have been herding sheep and goats using sheepdogs. And with sheepdogs, you need to learn all of these different commands, all of these different signals. You need to train your dog, you need to train in order to herd these sheep and goats correctly. Now, if you're trying to think about how to improve the system and herd these goats faster, you might have the belief that you need a sheepdog to herd sheep. And then you're going to have the thought of, so how do I improve the efficiency of my dog? And so you might take the action of feeding your dog some better meat so that it's more strong, more muscular, and it's able to run around quicker to herd up these sheep. Whereas if you had the belief that there's a easy solution to herding my goats faster, I don't know what the thought was that came to these people, but eventually they took the action of just playing some music and they realized that the goats really liked it and it attracted them and it brought them in. But they were never going to get there by using the same logic of using a sheepdog. And we can see that playing some music, he looks very happy. Those goats look very happy. And it took a lot less effort than having to train yourself and a sheepdog to herd the goats. So, most people try to fix things in the physical plane of existence, and it took me building 2 6-figure agencies before realizing that these next 2 steps are what makes the change not just work, but continue to work. So, step 1, we are going to be learning our ABCs again. But this is not the alphabet. This is learning to get awareness, to break the habit, and to choose your response. Because some of these beliefs that you have don't feel like beliefs, but they feel like facts. And so we need to gain an awareness of these things, this deep programming that you have in your mind that you don't question, that, money is hard. Might be something that you've heard from a lot of people and that it requires hard work, and now you just think that's a fact. You think that it has to require hard work to make money, when that's not true. You've got people that have become millionaires from winning the lottery. Did that take hard work? So it's not a fact. It's a belief that feels like a fact, and so we need to gain our awareness on it. So let's start rewiring your brain now. I want you to go through these statements and finish them off yourself. I'm going to go through now with some examples that would either be from myself or some of the clients that I've worked with, and tell you where some people's minds were at when they were doing this. So when I think about earning more money, the first uncomfortable thought that comes up is, for me, it would have been that people that earn a stupid amount of money are very greedy. Growing up, money was usually associated with, for one of my clients, is going to be from like scarcity and fear. He came from a very poor family. Money was associated with paying for the bare essentials, and that was it. There wasn't really much else. They had to be very, very selective with how they spent money. The kind of person who makes a lot of money is greedy. Again, if we use my example, the last time I felt stressed or emotional about money, I shut off and ignored the problem. Coming from another one of my clients who has a very avoidant style, and whenever a problem comes up, unless it really pushes him to a point where he can get mad about it, his first response is to avoid it and pretend like it's never happened. If I suddenly doubled my income, I'm worried that one of my clients, again, would say that he was worried that he would spend all of his money, and then when the money came back down, that he would be out of money and not able to pay for the things he bought. And so this is showing his experiences and his beliefs of, one, that money just flows away from him and that he'd spend it all, and two, that money can't be consistent and that it's going to come back down. Notice the language that's being used there. Now, if you comment rewire, I've got an extensive worksheet that goes through 20 prompts of helping you find your experiences and beliefs with money, as well as some of the extra stuff, which I'm going to go through in this video. So if you start to rewire the way that you think about money, you become more aware of your current patterns, and then you go through those and you start to choose the reactions that you want to have instead. You can, when you find yourself in those scenarios and say you're at the point of feeling stressed or emotional about money, because you've already thought about it, your brain can flick on a switch and say like, I'm feeling stressed about money. That's because of X. You can break the habit now, and you can choose the way that you want to react because you've selected it before. And so it's easier for your brain to go through that thought pattern. This can avoid burnout of trying to force yourself to do something and coming back to where it was. This can help you break your routine, and ultimately it can help you to earn a lot more money because you're able to take the money-making activities that you know work, do them more and do them consistently. But the work doesn't stop there, because you're breaking age-old patterns that requires a lot of willpower. That comes down, like willpower, comes down to a tiny muscle in your brain which does get overused. It can, in the same way, if you were doing too many bicep curls, get worn out and not work again. And so we want to make a change which doesn't require so much willpower. Otherwise, you're going to end up going back to your old ways of thinking. And that brings us on to step 2. This is where we're going to start changing your energy, your frequency, and we're going to start raising your states of consciousness so that you become someone and you have the identity of being someone who does these things, as opposed to trying to force yourself to do these things to create a new habit. This is the map of consciousness developed by David Hawkins. And all of this stuff down here, pride and the orange and the red, are what we call distortions. These are not facts around the world. These are emotional states that we go into that reduce our clarity and make it much harder for us to make decisions, and means that we have to push a lot harder to take action. So a lot of people may have desire around money where they feel like they need it or they really want it, or they have all of these cars and yachts or mansions and things that they really want to buy and they really aspire to have it. Not that they just choose to have it in their life, but there's a real emotional attachment to these things. Some people have a lot of fear around money. They are worried that they're not going to make it. They're worried about paying rent. They're worried about taking a loan out to get the car of their dreams, etc. Some people may feel guilt. One of my clients grew up middle class, and he feels guilt about worrying about money because he was in a better position than some others. But it doesn't matter what's going on with anyone else. This is your own situation. And so guilt can bring another distortion. And some people who have a lot of money may have shame around the money that they have because it came from their parents and they don't feel like they deserved it. And again, probably stemming from a belief that money requires hard work. And so we want to come out of these distortions and get into at least a state of courage so that the work isn't being influenced by these distortions. We can have clarity on the ways that we want to act, and we can be at an energy level where things are flowing to us, because the energy that we have in our subconscious is the way that we communicate to the universe, and the universe is like a mirror. If we are coming from a place of abundance, then the universe is going to reflect back and give us a lot of situations even where we can see that abundance. Whereas if we're coming from scarcity, like we are in desire of wanting this external thing that we don't have, we will then communicate that we are coming from a place of scarcity, a place where we don't have this thing. And so the universe is going to give us a load of situations to show us that, yeah, you don't have this shit. And so if we're going, I want 10K month, I want a 10K month, I want a 10K month, we're in desire and we are showing the universe, our energy is vibrating at, we don't have 10K a month. And then the universe is going to put us in a load of situations where you continue to not have 10K a month. Okay, so we need to start moving up to courage. And very similar to the way that we were doing it before, quite similar to your ABCs, we want to notice the state, and so the emotional state that we're in. We then want to allow it and accept that it is there. We don't need to try and push it down. We don't need to try and react to it. We just want to sit with it and notice it. Feel it then dissipate from your body. Step 3, we want to separate the story from reality. So what was the factual things that actually happened in your life, and what are you making it mean? And so if a client has left you, the fact is that the client has gone. But actually you might be playing the story in your head that, oh, that means I'm terrible at business. That means my other clients are going to leave me, and that means I'm going to be a loser again. Step 4, now that the emotion has dissipated and gone through us, now that we've seen and gained awareness of the story that we tell ourselves, we can choose from a position of clarity. What would I do if I wasn't protecting anything? Similar to what we were doing in the psychological stage. And step 5 is to act anyway. This brings us into the part of courage. Take the action that you choose. The important bit being that it's mindful action. This isn't attached to the outcome. Whether you get what you want or whether you don't doesn't really matter. It's just the idea that you felt this desire of, I want to sign a client. And so you've now become present in the moment, and you go and do your DMs, write your content, whatever it is that you choose to do. And you just become present in doing the action, and you don't worry about the outcome. I've got a couple of examples here. Got 2 DM messages. One of them, hey man, really cool to see the hiring process you've adopted. I love how you guys are focused on personality as well as skill. Hopefully other places take notes. Are you guys trying to book more sales calls? 1, really cool, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. I love this. Fake compliments. Okay, this is all just coming from a desperate place of needing something. And again, are you guys trying to book more sales calls? It's so forced. It's so just trying to get a result here. You're really, really desperate for trying to get a client. And so you're following a process of giving a compliment and trying to personalize it to a situation and then asking a question around your service. But it's showing up in a way that's really desperate because you have a distortion of desire. Whereas if you are operating from a place of courage or above, you might say, what's up, Josh? I like how you're building a biz. No point building something if you want to punch the people you work with in the face, right? Ha ha ha. How are you finding LinkedIn, man? You winning? See how this is a lot more conversational? It's as if I'd be talking to a friend. It has a little joke in there. It's also got a bit of personality, which might mean that they don't like me. Maybe they don't like referring to their employees as someone that they would punch in the face. That's fine. I don't care if that upsets them or not. I'm looking for my people. And so I'm going to send the DM that feels right to me. And that's just taking courage. That's my mindful way of giving a compliment, personalizing it to them, asking a question around their business, around my service. It's the same tactic as I was talking about before, but because it was coming from a different state of consciousness, it's ended up sending two very different messages. Cool. So, to summarize what we've learned, if you are struggling to raise your prices, if you're struggling to break a monthly revenue target, or if you just believe that money is difficult to come by, you are not trying to have a rich bank account anymore. You're trying to be a rich being. And after that, the money will flow to you effortlessly. All you need to do is rewire your brain so that you think differently and level up your state of consciousness so that the universe can provide for you differently.